You're listening to the Thoroughbred podcast, an elite business leadership podcast.
Welcome back, guys, to the Thoroughbred podcast. I am John Wentworth, and I just want to thank you guys so much for subscribing, for giving us some 5-star reviews. We are definitely gaining some traction, and I just think that's wonderful, and it's a blessing, and I thank you for that. And today is a very special day. We are going to be joined by one of my very best friends, my brother, Mr. Ronny Medawar. And a lot of you know Ronny, and a lot of you that are going to be listening from all across the country, wink, wink, maybe don't know Ronny yet, but you're going to get to know Ronny, and you're going to get to know him on an intimate level because he's an intimate type person. Somebody that just is full of faith, full of love for others, full of just passion for his career. He's just somebody that inspires me every day to be a better person, a better father, a better husband, and I'm just super, super blessed that he's in my life, and really I want to share him with you because there's no one in this world that should not know Ronny Medawar. So Ronny, welcome, big brother.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I watch you and hear you on the podcast, but it's nice to be on one.
Now, let's be honest. Have you heard all three?
No, I haven't. No, I've heard. Yes, I've heard two actually. I didn't hear the one from a couple days ago.
We just dropped the one on Joey Spencer yesterday, who's fighting tonight, which is going to be awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, welcome to the Thoroughbred podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you personally, and so. We've got some questions, but I'm just going to dive right in because I think one of the things that most intrigues me about you that has helped me a lot is how grounded you are in your faith. And so tell me a little bit about that. I'm always intrigued by this because, as you know, Ronny, for me, I didn't have that in my life growing up. And so, we talked about this with Joey yesterday. And so I'm just interested to hear and to share with the people how much God matters to you.
Okay, well, I can be blunt and say straight up, I would be nothing or no one, without my relationship with Christ. I was lucky to be raised in a God-fearing, loving home. I was lucky to have examples of amazing parents, and
yes, you do.
And my mom would give anything for her children, for anything for my father, and my father would work. He was he still is a very hard worker. But it's funny, when I saw my father rest, it would be on his knees, and he'd be praying, and it was amazing, waking up in the morning, getting my clothes, on, and of course, all the stuff we used to do, and getting ready to go to school, walking by my dad's room, and I'd peek in and say, hey, have a good day, and I couldn't tell him that half the time because half the time he'd be doing his reading of the Bible and morning prayer, and I didn't want to interrupt that. It was amazing. That was a great example.
Did you know it at the time? Probably not, right? You're talking about being very young, and that's what we talk about, like the environment that we put ourselves in or that we're in, because we can't control that environment when we're young. Right?
I'll tell you what, you'd be surprised how much you picked up, actually. I think I did the most of my growing on that period of my life. The most of my growing listening to my father and my mother at dinner talk about their day at work, and all of a sudden relating to what I would do in that position, if I was them, or when we'd go out to family functions with my uncles and listen to my dad and his brothers talk about business, and I'd always want to say I want to be one of the Medawar brothers because it was 5 brothers. So I'd sit there and listen, and it was pretty amazing how much I learned at that age, and how I can transform. Even at what age I am now, I go back 30 years from now and remember all the things I listened to and heard, and I said, I remember that scenario. And I can know how to put that back. It's amazing, but see my father and mother, pray consistently, read the Bible consistently. We went to a Bible preaching church where we read the Bible every time we were there. They'd have Bible studies. So no, It's been a part of my life my whole life, and I'll be honest with you. You could say I've swayed away, but I still have a conscience, and I go back. Of course, well, I'm human. We're all human.
Sure.
We all fail. We're all that people. But I go back, on my knees, praising and thanking God that I can go back, that He showed me who He was. So, yeah, it's a huge part of my life.
Yeah. Well, and I love the word, when you said your conscience, right? And one of the things that I've learned through this journey is that, people always say, you'll hear people say, well, I didn't hear God speaking to me, or God doesn't speak to me. And for me, one of the things that resonated was, well, then you're not listening to your conscience, because really, to me, that's my feeling is that when there's something weighing on my conscience, it's God speaking to me. And once I related that, it made it really easy to make decisions on things that I would normally, vacillate over for a long time.
It's amazing how, as a person, what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
And sometimes you just forget about what's wrong because you can get away with things and you can move forward. I'm a creator of systems in business. That's what I do. I'm a creator of different things. I create jewelry, which is very fun. I create systems. I have some business, things that I create. It's amazing that when you start doing those things, you go back and you create those specific things on your conscience and what's right and what's wrong. To me, at the end of the day, integrity is probably the most important thing that you can ever have. And I really I think that if you have a good relationship with your creator, I will say, and some people, they have different thoughts of that, but I think if you have that relationship, you can better create, yourself.
Well, speaking of creating, so, ironically enough, this morning, and I text you a photo of the book, I was reading a book that a friend of mine sent me from Ohio. We had a conversation. So Adam Rossmeller, who you saw at the Vision Conference, I was really intrigued by him. And one of the things that I've always struggled with, and this, is kind of embracing the platform that God has put me on. You see me on a billboard, and you've seen Ronny on a billboard, and it's like, that's not who we are. That's just our business and what we do to market it. It's one of those things where sometimes it's difficult to embrace that platform. And I struggle with that, especially now as we're starting to do, I know it looks like I don't because I'm on Facebook often and we're doing a lot of this video stuff, but it's still, there's a part of me that it's odd to have a video person follow me around all day. Right. And then you get to a point where, it's out of sight, out of mind, but I'm very deeply in belief that God has given me this platform to share the things that have happened in my past, in my childhood, in my life, to inspire people. But this book called To Create, and I said to you, it will be your next read, hopefully. It really talks about how God himself was a creator. And man, I'm telling you what, the first 10 pages of this book impacted me more than most books have. And so tell me, because you, I'm sure, deal with those same things, or if maybe you don't, maybe you've figured that out and compartmentalized it, or you already know how to handle it because of your relationship with God. But for me, it's something that's always on my mind. Am I going too far? Am I pushing too high? So tell me how you handle that.
Well, I'm going to back up a minute, and I'll tell you, it's great to have this conscience. It's great to have the leadership that you can get from the Bible, I will tell you. But, how can I say this? Fame is not something that is, of anything that has to do with success. I think success is the impact you have done on the world around you.
Yes.
And to me, it's how can I say, I'm the type of guy that doesn't like to, maybe share a ton of what I try to do. And some people do it in different ways. I mean, you have impacted people, many people, with your story and your life and the way you lead your business. I mean, you're a team grower. You have, and which I hope all leaders are, to be quite honest with you. But, you do it in a different way than I would do it, and someone else do it in a different way than they would do it. But, you're creating a system that is good for your business and good for you. You have a story to tell, and I have a story to tell. Everybody has their own ways of communicating that story. So, to put it in perspective, I sort of let my work and others maybe share what I can do. And I try, I mean, we put things on video of the designs, and now I'm starting to break that whole thing of, actually showing myself on a TV commercial. And I never was comfortable with that,
Yeah.
just because it wasn't me who I was trying to sell, it was my work. You are John Wentworth Group. I mean, and you are the brand too.
Well, that's just it, and it's very different. Marketing. I'm trying to sell essentially myself, my trust, my worthiness, my ability,
your integrity,
my integrity, and you're selling an item. But the beauty behind your item is it still comes with the Medawar name.
Well, yeah, no, our brand is extremely important to me. Our brand, when you look at our brand, you should see as hard and as solid as a diamond is, you should see our brand. And to me, that's extremely important. Again, integrity is with our name.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that's who I am.
That's the beauty of attaching your name to something. I mean, I really believe that. Like, once you attach your name to something, it takes it to a whole nother level.
No, absolutely. You take it very personal, and you hope the people that are on your team does the same way. Which I'm very blessed to have an amazing team. I mean, I couldn't do anything without this team, and they're great. Now, it's great to have cool. What I love about my business, okay, is that I can create something for you that has more meaning for you than it does for me.
For you, right.
I can create something that it represents something in your life. I can create something that marks a moment. That's our trademark. Right. Mark your moment. And mark the moment in your life where you, every time you look at it, every time you see it, you that's a seal of whatever it represents in your life. Be it in a wedding, be it an anniversary, a child, a successful, year in business, hence your, how you do that, the John Wentworth Rolex giveaway, which, is pretty
Which
cool.
I call you at the last minute for every year.
Hey, and
you make it happen.
We'll do it. But, that's, to me, that's what gives me joy.
Right.
And for you, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of people who have, their whole life in this one building, their whole life in this home, and you're taking them into a different life, and it's a new page, and it's a new, and that's a big responsibility too.
It is. I always say, it's much more than selling a home. I mean, helping someone, let's say, buy a home. It's so much more than just the home. It's where they're going to, we always think about the good things, right? It's where they're going to have fun. It's where they're going to have family. It's also where they're going to mourn. It's where they're going to go through some difficult things in life. And when you start to think of it on that level, it becomes so much bigger. And even for selling a home, I just left a home on Lake Fenton, this beautiful, wonderful 85-year-old woman who is, she's been on that lake in that home for 34 years. And, she said today, this is very difficult to do. And, and those are the people you want to embrace and help as much as you can and make sure that they have the best transaction possible.
Absolutely. It becomes, it becomes personal in that way. And I think, to me, when it comes to business, when you give a little bit of yourself every little time, you begin to grow, to give more of yourself. And, it's something important. It's something that you have to give to the people around you, your team, the people you meet. It's not just, hey, I'm going to sell you a piece of jewelry, have a good day. It's, I'm going to be here for you.
Right.
I'm going to be here for you today. I'm going to be here for you tomorrow. And my team is. If I can't be, my team is going to be. And that's why we try to build good teams around us. So,
well, let's have a little fun because you and I laugh a lot.
okay, we do.
We laughed the entire time setting up for this podcast. Should I wear a jacket? Should I not wear a jacket? I'm going to wear a jacket. I'm going to run out to the car and get a jacket
on the podcast.
I know, so I don't even know why we're thinking about it. And it is hot in here. But talk a little bit about what does just a normal day look like for you?
Well, I wake up in the morning. Of course, if I wake up early enough, I'd love to have some coffee with my wife and spend a few minutes with the kids still sleeping. That doesn't happen much. But get ready for the day. I take Mia to school, pretty much every day.
Mia is his daughter.
Mia's my daughter, which sometimes if I don't take her to school, John is taking her to school, which is, lives down the street from me, which is pretty awesome, and I trust and like a brother. And then I go to the office. I might have a cup of coffee, meet some friends for start off the day or the week, and go to work. And I'll go to the office or go to the stores. I have stores in Jackson, Lansing, Fenton, and Flint Township, and I'll make my rounds on those. I have great teams too that are in those stores as well.
So when you're making the rounds, is it like for me when I make rounds, every time I come here, I come in, the first thing I do is hug everyone on the team. I call that my rounds,
that's pretty amazing. Yeah,
makes me think to share that. Are you in, because you sell a little bit, but that's not your main role. Am I incorrect? You have your clients.
Well, if you take a look at the numbers of what we sell in our store, between my mother and I, we sell 50% of.
Wow.
But you have to understand, we have a huge following of personal customers that we attend to, and it's hard. And
relationships
now, of course,
absolutely, over a long time.
Absolutely, yes. and it's a big, it's something big, and it's hard. And now I'm starting to, with the love of my customers and my relationships, they understand I might not be able to see Ronny today,
right?
But Ronny's gonna put me in touch with someone that's gonna know what he's doing or she's doing, and so my rounds, I should say, I shouldn't call them rounds, but when I get to the store, and spend time with my employees, my coworkers, I should say, how can I help them? How can I get them something better? What new are the things that they're looking for? What else can I design for them? How can I help them in specific ways? And I'm in and sometimes out so quickly because I'm on to the next one. That's the hardest part for me, I think, is there's not enough time in the working day where I can sit down and enjoy my family and enjoy my work family and enjoy my family at home. So, the balance has been fun to do. But making these rounds, I'm there to encourage. I'm there to help. I'm there to lend a hand. I'm there to serve coffee to my customers. I'm there to,
whatever needs to be done.
You know what? Absolutely. I have no shame when it comes to my customers.
You'd be vacuuming and stuff?
Absolutely. In fact, I loved vacuuming. I can ask my wife. But, I love that part of my job more than anything. I hate the paperwork.
Yes.
But someone has to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
And someone has
Thank
to take
God
a look.
for those someones.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
but
just a different mindset, right? Some people that mindset works for them. Mine, my goodness, that mine does not work that way.
Well, there's managers, there's entrepreneurs, there's technicians in this world. It just depends on who you are and you embrace who you are. I tend to be a couple things, so I like to.
What makes Medawar Jewelers different than any other jeweler?
Our history, our passion. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have that. I could say, our price and our quality. Yeah, yada yada. No, it's not that. It's us. It's our team. It's not me. It's our team. It's our passion to help our customer, to give them the very best value for their money compared to the quality of what they're getting. To me, you can get
You said to me one time, it's the experience.
Well, absolutely. It's and again, that's a part of the whole thing. And I tell you what, the bigger you get, the harder it is to keep that experience perfect. But that's what I do.
Right.
That's what I try to instill in my coworkers is, we're here to serve. You go to the finest restaurants, okay? And they have, great food. But if you have terrible service, what happens?
Right. And when you start to look at that too, when you start to go to the better and better and better restaurants, the food's pretty much all the same. It's the service that has stepped up.
Absolutely.
And the price on the menu has stepped up because the service has stepped up.
Absolutely. And it's nice to remember.
Where are you going to eat tonight, by the way?
I have no idea what my wife what she wants to do. She usually cooks at home. I'm very lucky.
Well, I know how you got in the jewelry business because your father,
It's
right?
a family thing.
Yeah,
My grandpa started in 1920.
1920.
Yep. So soon, 1.5 more years, we'll be at 100 years old.
That's awesome.
It is third generation. I can say that, and I can't say that because, well, our company was demolished in the war in Lebanon from just from civil war. My parents came to America. They're Christian, as we talked about. It's a little bit easier to live that life.
Tell us more about that. Go a little deeper there because I remember at our church retreat that you shared that story about when your parents came from Lebanon and when they were forced out essentially from war.
Well, I mean, we have family there still, and they're good. They live a fantastic life. I mean, Lebanon is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous country, and I shouldn't say that they fled because well, they did. They fled. They left. They didn't flee. They
chose to go.
Yeah, they chose to go and come here. My father's brother was already in California. They stopped in Lansing to visit my mother's sister, my aunt, and they came here with my grandma and grandpa, and from my mom's side, and they were dropping my grandma and grandpa off to go to California.
Right.
So Dad flew out to California, and real quick he realized after 2 days of trying to find a place and seeing the whole thing. After a week later, he came back. He's like, "We're staying in Lansing, Michigan," and I wasn't born yet. It didn't matter to me. But I tell you what, restarted the business almost instantly, and that's a great story. I mean, he went down, searched for people to hire him, and no one really wanted to. And he said to this guy downtown Lansing, he goes, "Listen, let me put a watch bench in the corner of your store. Don't pay me anything. Whatever watches you get in, I'll fix, and you take half of it. And let me show you what I can do." 6 months later, my dad was fixing for 15 other Rolex, other jewelers from everything.
Right.
And it was so big. The guy was like, "You got to get out of here. You're busier than me." So Dad, reopened, Medawar, and his brothers came in and helped them expand, and each of them have their own thing. So
that's awesome. Well, it's truly a family business, right?
It is.
So tell us, I think it's something that's interesting that people I always talk about is the finished product syndrome, right? So, and especially I think it holds true for someone like you that is a family business, someone like Ryan LaFontaine, another one of our brothers that is a family business, because too often I think there's this perception that you didn't work as hard as someone else to earn it. And right with Ryan, same thing. And what I kind of feel is the opposite is that you almost have to go harder. Well, it's a jockey. It's a fine line. It just depends on the situation. But tell us about your grind, your journey, how about this? What's the most difficult thing you've ever overcome? Business, personal.
I think that is the biggest thing that I had to overcome when I walked in at a young age, and my dad's, I call them coworkers because they all were working together, although he was, the owner, is for them to accept me as a leader And I didn't expect them to, because they watched me grow up.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, a lot of them didn't accept me as the leader I had, and they had every right. I had to earn it, and I never expected anything less. But when I started affecting their business or their job, that's when they started not accepting and realizing, whoa, this guy is, really affecting how I'm doing it, and I'm trying to better them,
Right.
and better the system in the stores.
But
and
they're taking it as
this
telling
guy,
you what to do.
This guy's telling me what to do, and he's quarter of my age or half my age or never been in my business. They didn't realize I lived and breathed
Right.
this business, and my parents really never ever spoiled me. I mean, they spoiled me, yes.
Well, you told me a great story, though. I'm going to jump into this because I don't want to lose this thought.
Okay.
Tell us about, I believe you were 15 or 16. You were going to get, you were working towards getting your first car, but I believe you had another four-wheel vehicle.
How do you remember that story?
You had another four-wheel vehicle before your car. What was it?
It was a lawnmower.
Yes.
It's funny. Dad, listen, those of you who know me, I'm just going to say I love cars, and I don't care. You like me, you don't.
I like horsepower. I mean, we both like horses. He likes horsepower, and I like horses.
Yeah, that's funny. That's my thing. I enjoy it. I enjoy wrenching on them. I enjoy driving them. I like to go fast. I like to go slow. I don't really care. I like my cars, and I always have. My son, he's 2 years old. He loves cars. I don't know where he got that one from, but Dad always knew I wanted to get a nice car, and at 14, he's like, he always encouraged me. At 15, one day I would go to school to learn how to drive, to drive a car, and he's like, let's go car shopping. I'm like, oh yeah. He goes, where do you want to go? I said, let's go to a Toyota dealership. Okay, we went to the Toyota dealership. Let's go to the Chevy dealership. We went to the Chevy dealership. Let's go to the BMW dealership. We went. He took me. One day he's like, and my dad doesn't do this. He should understand. I was like, this is a special day. I'm spending with Dad.
Right.
This is really special.
Cars and Dad.
This is cars and Dad, and I was so excited. And he taught me a great lesson to spend time with your kids more often. I would say, I'll tell you that right there. But he also taught me another lesson. He goes, which car would you want? And I said, Dad, it's that BMW 3 Series. I love that car, And he's like, no problem. I'm like, yes. He goes, let's sit down. And we were sitting down. I can't remember where we were having dinner. And he said to me, he goes, my first car was $700. I had to work, I think it was 7-8 months till he could afford to save up $700. He goes, pull out of his pocket $700, and he goes, make this your BMW. And he handed me the $700, and I was like, oh great, I have $700, great. I'm gonna buy a stereo.
Whatever, I forgot about the BMW.
Stereo right now. No, and I was like, what can I do? A buddy of mine, he was mowing grass, and I said, can I use the tractor, the lawnmower? He goes, as long as you cut the grass, absolutely. Grab the lawnmower, I'd go down the street, and I'd try to, I would try to cut grass for other people just to start. And my dad's like, well, back it up. You're not going to go and go solicit our neighbors to go cut their grass. Come on. And I said, well, you taught me. He goes, no, you can't do that. Find another way to do it. So I hired a 16-year-old guy who had a pickup truck. And I bought ramps out of the $700, and we drove up that tractor on that pickup truck, and we would go cut grass somewhere else. And then my dad had a landscaping job at one of his stores, or his one store, and I said, can I bid it out? So I went and did all the bidding on it and whatnot, and I got the bid for $5,000, right? And it was way cheaper than what he ever did. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna make $1,000. Well, long story short, I hired all these guys to do all this landscaping with, you were starting with that, and he gave me a down payment. I bought all my stuff, and then I started doing that for other people. In fact, General Motors, was doing a a remodel on one of their plants around their signs, and they stopped and asked us to do it too. It was pretty amazing that whole year. I made $5,000 that year, and it was through that summer, and I had $7,000 saved up, I think it was, and I bought myself a car for $7,000.
What kind of car was it?
It was a 1997 Chevy Lumina.
Nice.
And I bought it in 97, but for $7,000, but it had 78,000 miles on it. It was like a salesman's car. I drove it for 3 months. I sold that car for $10,000.
Nice.
I took that $10,000. I went and bought another car. I drove it for 3 months and sold that car for $15,000.
Still doing this, by the way. Every time I see him, he's got a new vehicle.
Oh, come on. I have fun. But I don't make money on them anymore. That's the problem.
Now you're selling for $3,000 less.
Oh, jeez. But long story short, I bought my BMW after 2 years.
After 2 years, that's awesome.
And I drove it. And I loved it. So, I can tell you the other part of that story.
Yeah, tell it. We used to shovel driveways to get money in the winter. And then when I was 15, I would get a ride to the racetrack to bet on the horses with the money that I got from shoveling driveways.
That's so funny. Here's the other part of this story, which brought me back to, really a great experience, a learning experience. Is I bought that BMW, I had it, and I fixed it up, and it was in shows and all this fun stuff.
Really?
Yeah, till one day this guy came up to me and offered me seriously $10,000 over what I had into this car. And I said to myself, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but yes, I'll sell it. And I went to the Cadillac dealership and I put money down, a lease. I paid out a lease, I would say, for 2 years, because my dad really didn't care about cars. He was driving something.
He's kind of like me.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, right.
Ronnie's always ribbing me. He's like, when I used to have the Avalanche, you got to get rid of that. You're John Wentworth. You got to get rid of that Avalanche.
Come on, no.
I go,
it has rust and bumps all over it. Yeah, you did have to get rid of it.
Come on,
I want to hire a realtor that has a big ass bump on the side of this.
That's the beauty about podcasts. You can swear.
Okay, I don't want to swear.
And that's the next thing I want to talk about, too, because...
Let me finish that.
Please
let me finish
do.
the story real quick. I went and I put a 2-year lease on a Cadillac, right? And I drove it home. And I handed my dad the keys. And he's like, "What you bought a new car? What happened to your?" I said, "No, Dad, I bought you a new car." And in my life, I never seen my dad just drop his jaw. He was, "You see, I can't do that." "No, you can't." I said, "Yeah, this is yours. I'm gonna take your car." And this is like a Saturday afternoon. He's like, "Really? Come on, let's go for a drive." So we jumped in the car and we took it for a drive. He's like, "I can't believe you did this." And next thing you know, I ended up at the BMW dealership. And he goes, "How long do I have this car for?" I said, 2 years. He goes, "I still have some money left, Dad." He goes, "Good, leave it in the bank and invest it." He went in, walked in and said, "What was that BMW, a 3 Series?" And he went and leased one for me for 3 years.
That's awesome.
He goes, "I don't need your money. I didn't need, but what you did today just showed me, you're growing up.
Yeah.
You're growing up, son." And that's another thing. We got to really, I'm not saying go buy I'll never expect that from anybody else, but that was something
But it's a life lesson.
I was so, I don't know. I owe him everything. I owe my mom everything. So that's nothing of what I could and would do for them.
Well,
so.
I think maybe that's one of the things that I'm so drawn to you about. Just yesterday when we were at Mass, our kids go to school together, and Ronnie's always saying to me, do me this favor, and really it's favors for myself, right? It's not like he wants a favor. And so a couple weeks ago, he had a pretty big one, and I said, "Okay, fine, but you got to do me a favor." I said, "Okay." He said, "Okay, what?" I said, come to Mass Wednesday. But don't tell Mia you're coming. Just be there." And so we met parking lot at the same time. We're sitting down together, and Mia walks in, and it took her a moment to find Dad. And when she did, that smile lived with me all day long, and I'm sure it's probably still ingrained in your mind. It was amazing. And I think that family that you exude, because I didn't have that to that level. I think that always draws me to you when there's birthday parties for Mia or Sammy or family get-togethers. It's one big happy bunch, and they're one come all, and I'm going because I just love being around that family. It's so awesome, and you're so blessed to have such a.
I am, and I'm blessed to have great people around me that I can call family.
Yes.
I can say that. There's a handful of brothers. I'm a single boy. I have a older sister whom I love very much, and I thank God for. But I have no brothers, you know. And I had cousins and everything, but it's great to be able to have some brothers now, I could say, and I have a few, and I'm very lucky to have those people.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about we talked about our circle and who we surround ourselves with and how that affects us. One of the things we talk about on this podcast, everybody says, oh, you're going to talk about horses, and we've yet to do that. The definition of a thoroughbred is obviously a racehorse, but it's also an elite business person. And so, one of the things that we talked about when we opened this podcast is people that don't lead with ego, people that are humble, right? People that are, I came up with something that was really interesting to me. We had that horse that just won and won and won and won. And, it's difficult when you own a horse to put it out there for everybody because the norm is they don't win and win and win and win, right? And somehow you become related to your horse. If the horse loses, well, you own a loser. And if the horse wins, well, then you own a winner. And so I'll never forget when Chocolate Ride lost the first time, and, we had the whole family there and the kids, and I walked the kids out on the track. Now, many times, the horse doesn't race well. Everybody's mad. They throw their stuff on the floor and they pout off. And it was important for me to take the kids out on the track and still give the horse the same love, whether he won or lost. And so in that moment, it was, we celebrate victories and that's a beautiful thing. But we also have to be, humble in victory, right? We always say humble in victory, but you've got to be gracious in defeat also. And so I just feel like as I start to meet all of these high level people, there's a lot of humility, and there's not a ton of ego. How do you separate the two? Because we still have to have a diligent work effort every day, right? We still have to almost kind of roll with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, but we have to leave our ego at the door also.
Ooh, I don't want to sound like I don't care because I really do care, but the ego scenario is something that I hate.
Ditto.
And it's funny how you as a person might hate it, but other people bestow upon you that you have one when you don't really have one. You've asked me a few times to do things, and I would always shy away from it because I don't want to be that guy that portrays. And not that I'm not saying you do. This is you're again, you're benefiting. You're really helping a lot of people, but I don't really care anymore what if people are defining me under something. That really puts me back to say, are those the people I actually care about what they think?
Correct.
I know who I am. I know where I came from. I know what my wife standing next to me. I know how my children are being raised. I know my friends. I know their hearts. That's why they call them friends. And to me, I sort of take away the labeling of scenarios of people, and I sort of don't do that anymore. And one thing that one of my favorite.
Well, I always say, be a witness, not a judge.
Well, that's great. I don't know if you ever heard of The Man in the Arena, and that's The Man in the Arena is one of my favorite quotes, and it talks about, hey, you can judge all you want, but if you can't judge a person that actually tried it, and if they failed, they failed. But you can't say that they didn't try, because they actually did.
Yes.
And it's sad of the people who didn't try it.
Well,
You
look,
know what I mean?
fear paralyzes people, right? So how do you, in your business, how do you keep moving the needle? How do you keep thinking, like I've always got to think outside of the box, be one step ahead. I want to market today the way everyone else is going to market 3 years from now. And we've been very successful in that, and so have you. I have a lot of, a big sphere in the real estate industry, but I still have a small circle, right? I mean, I have tons of friends, but I have a very small and tight circle. But I do all of the coaching and inside of the real estate industry. What are some of the ways that you're always trying to stay ahead of the curve?
Well,
I know you love marketing.
Well, yeah, it's funny. People used to ask me when I was younger, like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm just a marketer. I just happen to be in the jewelry business. Well, that's so not true. I mean, it's so funny that marketing is one thing, and I've realized that my work can be the biggest marketing thing. The most money I can spend is on my customers' experience, and how do we move the needle? I mean, it's not really tons of marketing. It's not more marketing. It's
I think people think that you can come into something and just throw money at it, right? I mean, I think real estate is a great example right now. I don't know your industry well enough. Obviously, the market as a whole is really good, but the real estate market's really strong, and everybody thinks, oh, this is so easy, and people maybe have some backing and they think they can just throw money at it, but money does not create trust.
No, I mean,
right? And that's what you're saying.
Absolutely. And to raise the needle in my business, it takes a lot of money. I mean, one showcase of ours it costs as much as a house, and not saying that as a pat on our back. It's no, trust me. I mean, you can ask the state bank. They I pay them every month, but at the same time, it's a lot of work. It's to raise the bar in any business, not just ours. It's number one, the way you service people, the integrity you give them, and the standard that you hold yourself on. Now, top of mind awareness is important. That's where marketing comes in. When you say real estate, when you say waterfront, John Wentworth comes to mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean, I remember the late nights sitting on my deck and talking about that. When you think of waterfront, you think of John Wentworth. And it's true, because you've proven yourself, the way you've done your business, and I'm not blowing up your head. I'm just telling you the facts. You took a lot of money, and you're lucky. Your branding is down every street. I don't have that opportunity. I don't have the opportunity to put a Medawar sign on everybody's lawn.
Maybe you should consider that. Hey, we'll give you a very good deal on a diamond, but you're going to have a sign in your yard for 12 months.
Yeah, be careful of the burglars, right? No, but it's to me, she's walking around with a Medawar name. Yeah. She's, you've given her a Medawar piece. He's wearing a Medawar watch. That to me.
Very similar to the sign, right? Because someone will say, beautiful ring.
Yes, and you hope and you pray that they say,
where did you get it?
Please go see Ronnie,
right.
Or his team, and better than me is my team, But, that's how you raise the bar, by exceeding expectations with honesty and integrity at all costs.
We had Dave Duran in one time, Ice Cream Dave, Uncle Ray's shout out there. But he said something that was very interesting. He said, everything is a yes. And it's not just a yes, it's a yes, we will do that. Yes, I will get you that. It was just really interesting. I mean,
with ice cream, you can do that, John.
Yeah, but with his customer service for him is like, I mean, you've been there. Yeah. It is all about, he's selling $6 ice cream.
Yeah, they're certainly not the cheapest, but I'll tell you what,
they're very good, and it's the experience. Again, it's the experience of going there.
You tell Mia or Sammy, you say ice cream Uncle Ray's, and they're just, they're doing handstands.
It's all
over. Or they're cleaning up their room, or they're doing this, or they're doing that.
Whatever they can do to get there. All right, tell us, in your opinion, what makes an elite business person? I think you've said it probably, but just specific to that, what makes an elite business person?
I think first and foremost, you need to know what you're good at, know what you're bad at, get people who are better than you surrounding you, and always be mentoring someone, and always have a mentor. Focus, prayer. Yes, I'll tell you that much. To be an elite person, be an elite business-minded person, it is the drive that you also have, not just to win, but to affect the people, the thing, the place around you, and notice that it's not all self-centered at all. To be an elite business person, you must bring people, pull people up, grab onto people, and lift yourself up, and always try to do better, and do it all with integrity at all costs.
Well, and I think, for me, I'm always thinking about that self-reflection, right? And without using that word, you said that a lot in there, growth, to be able to self-reflect. You got to do the work. Sometimes you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I doing all that I can do to continue to move the needle forward? What I loved what you said in the beginning, right, is know what you're good at. Because like I said earlier, I can't spell, but I can sell. And it's literally so true that's become like a joke around the office over the last few years. I can't spell, but I can sell. I'll ask my 13-year-old how to spell stuff. It just wasn't who I was, wasn't how I was raised. I was really good at sports, and that was good enough. And I think it's important to recognize, where am I weak? And when you're 45 years old, you're probably not going to improve in certain areas. So you've got to hire that out. And maybe it's not even how you were raised, it's just who we are, who God made us. My brain operates in the moment. It does not operate from a sheet of paper.
Honestly, I think a lot of people can be. It doesn't matter where you are in your life or in your business life. If you want to be successful in all you do, do it and understand what you are successful in doing. Understand,
and then do a whole lot more of it.
Exactly, and focus on it, and be that person. Don't try to be someone you're not. Don't look left and right and behind you. And one more thing, which is extremely important, you got to find the balance, because you can be fantastic in business, and you can lead and have all this stuff, but personal life could be really crappy.
Well, and so that was the next question as we talk about what it takes to be an elite business person. And I think more importantly, what does it take to be an elite person? To an elite husband, an elite father, an elite friend.
That's so not me.
An elite
and
Christian.
I hope to God I will be. I strive every day to be, but to be an elite business person, I don't even consider myself that. I strive to be. I strive to be an elite business person. I strive to be the best husband. I strive to be the best father. I strive to be the best son or cousin or brother. But it's hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just gotta realize
it's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. Do the best you can do with what you have and what you know. Always strive for better, but don't hold yourself to the point where you're just. You always try to do better and better and better, because you're never going to ever stop and smell the roses.
I'll tell you a real interesting story. You're talking about this when I used to race horses and I was living in Ottawa. And I've probably never even told you this story because it just came up. It's not something that I would think about. But the night before, I won 7 races, and I just missed the 8th race by like a nose. And so 7 races was the tied me for the most that anybody had ever won in one night, right? And what a glorious thing. And all I did was all night so mad, all day so mad the next day that I didn't win the 8th. And I'm in the airport in Ottawa, and I'm getting on a plane, and I'm not a reader. So why the heck I bought a book, I don't even know. Well, I do know. It was about as thin as an iPad. and so I grabbed this book, and it says, the 10 most important things to be happy. And I opened the book. I haven't bought it yet, actually. I just opened it on the stand. And it's basically like a 1 or 2 page chapter. And the very first chapter says, and I don't remember exactly what it said. Chris can Google it maybe real quick. But it basically said, in order to be happy, you have to be willing to enjoy the wins. Because if you always need more, you can never enjoy what you already have.
It's very true. I mean, as someone, I can't remember who told me the story a couple of days ago, but you see a guy, he's in a car and he's driving down the street and he sees this, Maserati or whatever car driving by. He's like, man, I wish I had that. But next to this guy, there's a guy, in a, whatever kind of car. He's like, man, I wish I had that car that guy was driving. And then there's a guy on a bicycle saying, man, I wish I had that car that guy was driving. It's just it puts things in perspective that you got to live in the moment. You gotta work hard for what you want. If it's given to you, you'll never respect it. And you gotta celebrate life. You gotta celebrate the greats. Now it's good to be upset at yourself, and it's good to say, I didn't get to that position where I want to be, but look at where you're at and say, well, where am I at? And I'll be honest, even today, I'll be that guy that says, dang it, I didn't didn't hit my quota, or dang it, I didn't do this, or we didn't do this, or how did we do, stop.
But it's okay. You recognize it, but it's
to.
okay.
You have to, and it's taken me a long time to do that. But that's what makes life better. It's really, that's what. It's amazing that the surrounding that you're around or the mindset you're in will make you a better businessman, a better husband, a better father, and so on.
Why do people continue to hang out with people that have a negative effect on them?
I don't know. I don't really try to.
Well, I know you don't. What I'm getting at
I don't have an answer for that.
What I'm getting at is we talked about that circle being tight, and we have a lot of people in our lives, but we don't have a lot of people deep into our lives. And, one of the things that I'm really focused on right now is there's only 2 types of people I want in my life. Someone that can have a positive impact on me, and someone that I can, in return, have a positive impact on. And that got real simple for me when I heard that. One of my mentors said to me one day, he's telling me to read this book and read that. I go, brother, man, I can't even do that. Like, I don't read. He said and he was trying to pull this out of me. And he said, I know that. That's because your place of genius is your heart. So just go to your heart and go to the truth every single time. And since then, that was a big weight. It was a weight lifted off my shoulder. And as he told me that, he said, the other thing you struggle with is self-appreciation. And I'm like, holy cow. That was kind of a slap in the face, but it was only a slap in the face because I knew it was true. And once I heard those 2 things and I could kind of, say, okay, I get that. I can understand that. I can figure that out. And he had me read a book called The Shadow Effect. And I didn't read it all. I read a little bit of it. There were 3 chapters. He told me to make sure you read the second one, so I did. But to understand that, we have to not always be so hard on ourselves. And I think when we're trying to strive for these big things and we're trying to do things that people haven't done and we're pushing to break through the ceiling all the time, I think sometimes we get too hard on ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what? That's what pushes you. Mm-hmm. You can't say that that's always negative because sometimes we need a good kick in the butt. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we have to be hard on ourselves because if we're not hard on ourselves, other people are definitely not going to be hard on ourselves, on us, I should say, because a lot of people don't say what they feel, or how they look at you or how you. It's funny. You'll see a lot of people and you'll meet a lot of people. And if you know me, I've learned not to always try to help every single person because, to be quite honest with you, some people just don't want help, and sometimes I'm seeking help and I'm not getting it from somewhere where I need it, and sometimes you got to realize they might not know, that you need help as well. So
that goes with our friendship, right? I mean, sometimes I'm saying something to you and you're like, yeah, whatever. And sometimes I could say the same thing in the right moment and you're like, I get it.
That's exactly
and
the
same
case.
thing with me. You could tell me something. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I hear you, but I don't feel you. And then there are times you can say it to me and it has a deep impact. And that's what I'm talking about, that inner circle. Like, you've got to have, I think, those people in your life. Like, I can go to you and say, Ronnie, what am I doing wrong? What are you seeing? Correct me.
And that's great. But the best part about being that guy is me walking to you and saying, John, what are you doing right? And we all have to hear that too.
For sure.
And again, speaking about celebrating, the good things, sometimes, when your friends are celebrating with you, or your family or your loved ones or people you actually care about, you realize, hey, you're doing things right. You're affecting people the right way. And, and sometimes when you need that, you got to be around those people. And, you don't want to do it just because you want to hear that, but you know that the people who are going to celebrate your successes are true friends. They want to celebrate your success because they love that you're being successful. I have a few people in my life where, I would step back for them to be successful. I would be like, I want you successful because you deserve it. You busted your tail, and I've done that, and I love that, and I hope and I pray that, I can be that person to many, but you can't. You can't always do that.
Well, and some people don't want it. And, that goes back to this team that we're building. So many people say, well, why do you keep building it bigger? It's to provide people the opportunity that I've had. I love when I'm able to take people in my sphere and allow them or to help them enjoy the things that I've been blessed with. To me, that I want everyone in my circle to be able to enjoy, and maybe sometimes that pulls me away from you and Ryan and the people that are, in my circle and very successful, because I'm so over here trying to get everybody else into that darn circle. And, and that can be exhausting sometimes too, because like you said, sometimes you just can't get people to go there.
I've realized one thing, and it really isn't around the people who you hang out with. It really isn't. At the end of the day, you put your head on the pillow, and it's just you. Okay? And you
can either live with that or you can't.
You can live with that. You can live with what you're doing. You can live with who you are, or you can just, go to sleep and forget about it. And to me, you have to understand who you are. You have to understand and be confident in what you are, and truly what you're good at, and how you can benefit others of what you are good at, and understand you are bad at things, and know that. And people can relate those things in different way by, there's all different ways. But the biggest I would think impact you can make on others is understanding who you are, and not saying that you're better, but saying that you're good at this specific thing. And I want to bless others with that if they ask, if they want. Now,
give me one big dream. Like, what's one big dream for you in your life?
Wow.
Because as much as you love cars, I know when I ask you that question, it's not a car.
Oh, no. It's nothing material, really, I'm thinking. To be quite honest with you, my big dream, I really don't want to share it because it really has nothing to do with me. And I don't want to say it because it's an effect that would have an effect on others who are maybe less fortunate than me. And I don't want to be that guy. That's not who I am. I just want to be, I'd like to be under the radar, but I want to help others in ways that I can't right now. I want to bless others in ways that I am not the one blessing, but maybe the steps I take or the work that I help do are blessing everybody else. So that's a big dream of mine.
Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. She brings him good, not harm.
Well,
all the days of her life.
Absolutely. That's my That's my Paula.
I know it is.
Yeah,
And
she's my most precious jewel. Yeah.
you know, we for our you got tears in your eyes, and so do I now. But you know, for our witnesses, you know, we both
I read that.
we both did,
Yeah.
and I think that's when you realize you're in the right circle.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm. She's my. You know, she makes me whole. You know, I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. She's a God-fearing woman who is by far an amazing mother, amazing wife, and she loves deeply. And she's definitely my rock when I am, I don't know, snow. You know, I don't know how else to put it. I could be that mushy guy, and she can be my solid rock, and of course it's vice versa. And that's when you need, and that's when you need to give, and that's when you need to take. And she's an amazing partner, amazing friend. I can't see life without her. So I'm very blessed.
Yes, you are. Well, we're very blessed to have you on. I want to share with you how much you mean to me.
Oh, thank you.
I don't tell you enough. You know, we get running, we get going fast, but you are, you know, someone in my life that when we at Mass the other day, you know, when we and Ronnie doesn't attend our church. His daughter does go to St. John's School, and so I don't sit with him at Mass, you know. And when I sat next to him the other day and he sat down, man, it was just, and I shared with him, I'm like, wow, it was such an aura. And again, I think that's when you know you're in the right circle. But you just bring me something, some peace. And I love you. And I love you for that, obviously.
I mean,
you better say something good now.
I know, man. This is a tough one, man.
No, it's all good.
You know, you've confided in me very much, and to me, it shows trust, and I think vice versa. I have done the same. You know, you've seen good times and bad times of me, and you know, and that's the great thing of having good friends,
yes.
and having people you can call brothers. And I'm very lucky to have a few of them, and. I will say that that's what really makes me move forward. That's what makes me excited to affect others in positive light, and to give a piece of me, just like I said earlier, to the people that deserve it. And of course, I think my pieces deserve it when I build them, and I give a piece of me there. But I definitely think, you know, and there's a lot of pieces to give of me, you know. I should be waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning like you do and go work out. But no, it's wonderful to have great friends and great relationships, I would say. And I count you as, you know, one of my band of 5. I'm very blessed.
No doubt. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Check out Medawar Jewelers, because as you can hear, you're going to get a lot of love behind whatever goes into, whatever it is that you pick up for that special person in your life.
Medawars.com. I had to do that for that.
Do you want to give them the phone number too, or is Google enough?
RonnyMedawar.com. Whatever you need.
Call me 24/7.
I'll do it. I'll be there.
Guys, thank you for checking out this podcast, the Thoroughbred Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share and give us some 5-star reviews. Go to Medawar Jewelers and give them some 5-star reviews and give them some love. Ronnie's going to take great care of the entire team at Medawar Jewelers is awesome. And, you know, I just really wanted to bring Ronnie to life in a different persona of who he really is, as opposed to, you know, just an owner of a jewelry store, because he's so much more than that.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. And so check out Medawar Jewelers. And next time you see Ronnie, go give him a hug.
That's it. I give good bear hugs.
I picked him up when he got here. He was shocked.
I was shocked.
Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thoroughbred Podcast. Peace out.